I grew up. My parents got divorced when I was in the first grade, second grade. I think it was in the second grade. I think they finally got divorced, and I don't know. I think a lot of the times we're just lost. We didn't have real parental guidance. My mom left us by ourselves a lot of the time, and it was up to my older brother and sister to watch us and basically take care of us. And when she got married, we were put to work. We, like, as kids, had to feed the chickens and spar them. But I think about when I didn't like it growing up, but when I think about it nowadays, we grew up kind of like in a farm environment, because the neighbors had horses and cows and goats and geese, and we had the chickens, and they had pigs. We had rabbits, dogs, and cats. And at one point we even had a chinchilla. Ran away and died. But we had all kinds of animals, and I think if we weren't there, I wouldn't have experienced growing up firsthand, interacting with animals, raising animals, and seeing the miracle of life in that sense, because we would watch the animals be born, live their life, and eventually die. So you saw a cycle of life that way. Not many kids would ever be able to experience that. I mean, Shalissa never really had a pet until she was much older. We had fish all the time. Oh yeah, we had fish too. We had the old-fashioned tub. My brother Irvin would fill it up with water, and then we would just add guppies, and they would just multiply, and we had all different kind of really colorful guppies. So we had fish too, and I never went crabbing. My brother went crabbing, but we used to get to see live crabs all the time. I guess back then we just didn't want to be in that situation, so I didn't appreciate it back then. I appreciate it now, though. But I don't know, my childhood could have been better, but made me who I am today. Although I don't like to be reminded of what I was back then. That's what I get reminded of. I work really hard not to think about how I used to be. But it's a constant battle in my head to not be what I used to be, because I was the family brat. I was a family spoiled brat. I was a crybaby. I think part of the reason I don't cry as much as I used to is because I always have the voices in my head. Not the voices in my head, but my brothers and sisters' voices in my head, teasing me and calling me crybaby. And then my dad not wanting us to be so emotional. He was afraid that we would have a breakdown and find out that we were emotionally unstable. Because my grandmother, I think she was manic depressant, just like my auntie. And I think my cousin was like that too. She had tried to commit suicide, but she wasn't quite successful, so she lived the rest of her life as like a vegetable. Her mom, she wasn't on tubes, but she was like, what do you call that? Brain dead? Like, not brain, she couldn't function. She was just in bed. She couldn't do anything. So my dad was deathly afraid that if we got too emotional, that me and my sisters would end up being the same way. So he would always tell us, don't be so emotional. Don't cry. You don't have to cry for everything. I said, I'm not crying for everything. Just trying to release emotions. We all have to release emotions. But he didn't like seeing us cry. It was harder on the girls on that. The boys kind of did whatever. I didn't cry anyway. But, yeah.